All right, how you guys doing? Today we're gonna hop into the reading of Proverbs chapter 21. This is the review part one. The first things first, I would love to make sure that you would like the video, hit a little exit full screen, scroll just a little bit, like the video, then full screen and back up. You feel me. This is the words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. And there's Jewish history, prophecy, speculation, whatever word you want to use, that say that Lemuel is another word for Samuel. Or my bad, not Samuel, Solomon. This is the second time I've confused the name Samuel for Solomon. There's a guy that came into my job and his name is Solomon, and I called him Samuel, and he's like, well, actually, Samuel was my brother. And I was like, wrong biblical S name. But anyway, right? Some people in the Jewish history somewhere speculate that this is actually King Solomon, and that his mother Bathsheba taught him these things. Pastor Paul said there's no evidence for this. To me, it doesn't matter. It's wisdom, right? Wisdom's wisdom as long as you have fear of the Lord, right? The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. So as long as you fear the Lord, wisdom's wisdom. And if it's in Proverbs, Lord provided this for some reason, or preserved this for some reason, right? So it's provided to us. Whoever wrote it, King Lemuel, Solomon, shoot, if Agur wrote it, don't matter to me. Wisdom, some wisdom. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, this is the words of his mom, that his mom told him, right? What, my son? And what, the son of my womb? And what, the son of my vows? Right? So we'll look at this in another translation, because honestly, I don't remember what it looked like in the ESV, but I know it wasn't it. That's what he reads. He reads out of the ESV when he teaches, and usually it's easy to tell. Sometimes a little iffy, right? So, what are you doing, my son? What are you doing, the son of my womb? What are you doing, the son of my vows, right? So, yeah, what? Huh? What? Triple what? Triple take. Give not thy strength unto a woman, nor thy ways to that which destroy kings. And with this, if you're unfamiliar, give not thy strength unto woman, basically saying just don't put all your effort into it, right? When it says that we owe to the Lord all of our, what's it, mind, strength, and soul, or something like that, mind, body, I think it's strength. I think it uses the word strength. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what verse that is. Let's do a little Google search together, right? Love the Lord God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. Mind, not strength. I'm sorry. Regardless, though, if you said to do something with all your strength, it's all your effort, all your energy. So the mom is clearly distraught. What are you doing, son? Do not go chasing after these women. That's not all life is, nor to the ways that destroy kings, right? And this is King Lemuel, right? This may be taught from before he became king, and his mom told him this, maybe after. Regardless of the fact, these are the things that can destroy kings, right? Because Pastor Paul mentioned, if this was Solomon, I got 700 wives, 40 something concubines, or whatever the discrepancy between the two was, whatever it was, he should have heeded that warning for real. Because like 700 plus, you need that, sir. That's like a new one every day for 2 years. Like what are we doing? Heed this warning type jazz, right? So we got verse 4. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes to drink strong drink. Verse 5. Lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. Right? And Pastor Paul talked about this in the sermon, saying that not only is it just bad to get drunk in this time in general, right? That doing that impairs your wisdom to a whole host of degrees, but kings were involved more than we think they were. It wasn't just, oh, you oversee this, you oversee that, make a law here and there, maybe lead your army into battle. I don't really know, right? It wasn't that. They were constantly involved in disputes, and that's where we get the famous example of Solomon saying, if this ain't neither of your babies, or it's both of your baby, I don't know whose baby it is, chop it in half and give it to each of you, right? Because kings had to handle that kind of dispute, which is why Solomon asked for wisdom, because that's the beginning of a good person, right? Fear of the Lord brings to wisdom, and as a king who has wisdom, that can bring wealth to the whole nation. As some chapter in Proverbs talked a lot about having a king with wisdom and rightly ruling and all that type of junk, right? Not junk, but you get the point. So, and having these types of judgment calls that a king would have to make on a regular basis, basically being the supreme court, the highest authority in the kingdom rather than God himself, drinking strong stuff would impair you. So even then, when a king wouldn't do it right, if we are all heirs to the throne, that means that we are to some degree under a king and have the chance to be one day, right? Heir to a throne, you're going to inherit that throne and become a king. You're going to reign with Jesus. Same thing goes for us. It is not for kings to drink wine or for princes to drink strong drink, we of which will be both, a prince now, king later. schooling with Jesus. Not necessarily can. I don't know theology on that. Don't quote me, but you get the point, right? Heir to the throne, prince is no strong drink. You feel me. You feel me. All right, unless they drink, forget the law, and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted, because you have to rule properly. You have to be in the right state of mind to give out the right judgments, the right wisdom, and all that type. But verse 6, give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more. And so it says here in the commentary that he, King Lemuel's mother, thought of two more appropriate drinkers, right? A criminal who needs to be numbed by the drink on his way to execution. Even somebody along the lines of Jesus drinking that sour wine for pain medication or pain numbing, whatever it did to him, right? Easing the pain where you don't really feel it as much. Or somebody who's of a bitter heart who could drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. It isn't that there are no consequences for drinking in these two cases, but the consequences have little impact in comparison to a king or a leader. Right. And then she go on to tell him, open thy mouth for the dumb in the cause of all, such are as appointed to be destruction, and open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause for the poor and the needy. And going back to the commentary, right, the idea is that there are those who can't speak for themselves to defend themselves in a court of law, or in less formal circumstances, the wise and the godly man of woman will speak for the speechless and take up the cause for the defenseless, or those appointed to die. As you in Proverbs 31, 1-9 raises an important question. Being a leader means that as some of level position and power, will you use it to indulge yourself, here the indulgences of woman or wine, or will you use the position to protect those and benefit those to who you lead? Right, verses 8 and 9 says that. And what I like what Garrett says here, right, it's noteworthy that this is her sole political concern. She doesn't say anything about building up a treasury, creating monuments to reign, or establishing dominant military power. Her king's throne is truly founded on righteousness. And where do we get that? Fear of the Lord. And then what we're not going to get into now, but part 2 of Proverbs chapter 31 is what everybody pretty much knows about Proverbs 31, is that it describes what a good woman is. Recently, actually, an Instagram reel came across my feed that was talking about an Ezekiel 5 man. And I've always heard people talk about a Proverbs 31 woman, but I've never heard of the term an Ezekiel 5 man. So it got me thinking, what's in Ezekiel 5? So maybe I'll go read that tonight for myself. But yeah, so that's what Proverbs is really known for in chapter 31, is the descriptions of a wise woman. But what I think that people often miss with this is, even think about it, this is mom saying this. This is, and that last bit of the commentary, right? It said that her sole concern was focused on righteousness, not the money, not whatever, right? A good woman, as we see in verse 10, who can find a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. If you have that wisdom, right? Solomon asked for wisdom. It led him to being one of the richest men in history, right? Her price is far above rubies because she can guide you to that. The knowledge that his mom just bestowed upon him, so much that somebody had to write it down, and the Lord preserved it for us to this day, speaks volumes, right? So many people gone after women, so many people gone after drinks, so many people gone after whatever the case is. Yet, boom, his mom is telling him this. Chances are, his mom is a fantastic woman to his dad. And then goes on. I don't necessarily know if this is talking about his mom gave him the other wisdom as well. Maybe. But it goes on from that advice from a mom to how to find a virtuous woman. Sounds like she fit the bill and was able to then give really good wisdom, which I would argue go hand in hand, right? Good woman gives good wisdom. You have good wisdom, you can find a good woman. You know, and it's kind of repeating cycle. Your mom passes on good knowledge to you as the kid. You, the kid, goes and finds good woman to repeat the cycle. So hopefully you can take something away from that. I'll see y'all next time. All right, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.